Hello. Welcome to Sparks 1524. I'm Nathaniel Miller. On this special edition of On the Waterfront, we are going to the USS Ponce, otherwise known as the Proud Lion. This is a ball cap I have not worn God, it's been 10 years now because I left the ship in 2012 and this is 2022. Amazing how good my math skills are, don't you think? I was on board USS Ponce for a whopping 2 years, 2010 to 2012. She was originally supposed to be decommissioned in 2012, and we were hip deep in that process when the ship once again showed why this little rickety, obscure, maligned dump truck of a ship is, in my opinion, one of the most remarkable ships the U.S. Navy had in the 20th century. This was a ship that beat the odds in so many ways, right down to defying fate itself and getting herself 5 more years, not just of service, but of service as an experimental platform testing everything from new amphibious assault concepts to a prototype laser weapon for the Navy. She was the only time I was ever ship's company. Now, there's two types of sailors in the Navy: ship riders and ship's company. Ship riders are sailors, and most of my deployments, I was a ship rider. For example, when I was part of the Air Wing, back in my F-14 Tomcat days, we were ship riders. We got on board the carrier strictly for that mission. Ship's company, the ship's crew, like what you'd see in Star Trek, for example. Captain Kirk, Mr. Spock, Uhura, Sulu, Scotty, Chekhov, they're all ship's company. They actually are assigned to the ship. The ship is their home. I got that one time in my career, and that was on the Ponce. And this is really funny because when I joined the Navy to go to sea and be on a ship. And I spent a lot of my career getting these, oh, Petty Officer Miller, great deal. We're going to send you to Guam on shore duty. But I wanted to go to that big floaty gray thing over there. Well, you're such an AJ squared away sailor. You're volunteering for this hard stuff. So we're going to reward you by sending you to shore duty again. But I want to go deploy because I want to compete for chief petty officer and I need to be at sea. I kept getting these good deal hookups. So they weren't what I wanted, but they were good deals. It was weird. This series is being occasioned by the fact that the Proud Lion, which was Ponce's official nickname, has departed the Naval Inactive Maintenance Facility in Philadelphia, otherwise known one of the boneyards, for Brownsville, Texas. I'm not sure where she's headed yet, but she has been sold for scrap. Ponce was the last of the Austin-class amphibious transport docks, or in the Navy shorthand, that would be LPD. That's the hull designation, the three letters for an amphibious transport dock. She was LPD 15. So these were small, mid-sized amphibious transport docks that have a flight deck on the back for helicopters, a well deck that we could flood to bring amphibious landing craft in, load them up with Marines, and send them to shore and make the bad guys lose the game. Ponce was built by the now defunct Lockheed Shipbuilding Company in Seattle, Washington. There are a few numerological connections to my family with Ponce that probably don't mean anything, but they're kind of fun to think about. She was laid down in 1966, the year my parents were married. She was launched in 1970, the year my brother was born. She was commissioned in 1971, the year I was born. Not much, but there it is. To make it even funnier, she retired finally in 2017, not quite 30 days after I retired. Ponce is named after Ponce, Puerto Rico, which is not named for Juan Ponce de Leon, the Spanish explorer. It's named after his great grandson. And I'm probably going to mispronounce this name, and I do apologize. His great grandson was Juan Ponce de Leon y Leoza. And I do apologize if I butchered that. But this gentleman helped found a small parish in south central Puerto Rico and was instrumental in getting this recognized by the Spanish crown and the Catholic Church as an actual parish. When this came through in the late 17th century, the villagers, now that this was an official village and an official church parish, the villagers named it Ponce in honor of him. So one of the first myths that I actually busted after I became the ship's public affairs officer was the myth that she was named for Ponce de Leon. We knew she was named for Ponce, Puerto Rico, but I busted the myth that Ponce, Puerto Rico was named for Ponce de Leon. It's not. However, when I got orders to the Ponce, I didn't even know how to pronounce the name. I got orders to USS, it said PONCE, LPD 15. I didn't know how to pronounce it. I never heard of it. Ponce, Punk? I didn't know. Nobody knew. I was teaching at the Defense Information School at the time, and nobody knew. Well, I was married back then, and my family and I, in May of 2010, headed from Fort Meade, Maryland, where the Defense Information School is, down to Norfolk, Virginia, on house hunting leave. We found a nice little place we were going to rent, and on a whim, drove out to the Naval Station Norfolk Waterfront to happen to see if whatever this ship's name is was in port. So we drive along the waterfront and see an Austin class LPD, and I think it was Pier 5 or 6, it may have been 7, but this was 12 years ago, moored stern in on her starboard side of one of the piers. So we park, and I head out there, and I'm dressed semi-casual. I mean, we just finished now ex-wife and I just finished renting a house. Go over the ship, present myself to the officer deck. Hey, I'm, at the time, Mass Communications Specialist First Class Nathaniel Miller. I have orders to this ship. I'll be reporting in August. Just got done with house hunting leave. I wanted to see if I could meet the Command Master Chief, anybody else. Well, it turns out most of the command staff was gone for the day, but the admin officer was on board. Great, because I would be administratively answering to the admin officer, even though operationally I'd be going straight to the executive officer. And that's a whole nother story. Well, they paged the admin O, and while waiting, I'm sitting there talking and asked the officer of the deck, it was a chief standing at watch, asked him just without even thinking how he liked being aboard the Ponce. I was very quickly, politely, but emphatically corrected. The ship's name is Ponce, not Pons, not Ponce. Ponce. Wow. So my first time aboard the ship, I'm there to make a good impression, and I mispronounced the name in a hilarious fashion the first moment I step aboard. That is the story of the day I met USS Ponce. I had orders to her for a couple of months, and for a couple of months, I could not find anybody who knew how to pronounce her name, much less where the name came from. I am ashamed that it didn't even occur to me back in 2010 to Google USS Ponce or Ponce and see anything about her. It just didn't occur to me to use Dr. Google. Navy sailors are part of a huge 200-year-old fraternity. Well, it's just American Navy sailors. Sailors in general, we're part of a fraternity that goes back to the beginnings of human civilization. One of the enduring traits of being part of this fraternity is a smaller club within the large one of those of us who were ship's company at least once. That was our ship. It's the same thing I feel about a couple of the squadrons I was in, especially VF-213, my F-14 squadron. That was my squadron. It's a unique place to be. Well, now the crew of the Ponce, or all the crews who walked Ponce's decks, we're now moving into another part of this hallowed fraternity. We are in the process now of joining our predecessors who have had their ships scrapped. It is not a fun thing to talk about. It's not a fun thing to think about. The emotional investment we all put into these ships, especially ships like Ponce that were remarkably happy and lucky ships, even if she was kind of obscure as far as national media goes. She was a very happy ship. She was a very successful ship. It's hard. It's hard to let go because it is a huge part of you that is literally getting taken apart. So the Ponce is now beginning the process of sailing into history, where she will continue sailing on in our memories and our stories. Don't know when the Navy will build another Ponce. We'll have to see. But over the next couple of months, I'll be doing more on the waterfront columns here on Sparks 1524, and they will be USS Ponce editions because clearly I have a lot to talk about. And if you hadn't noticed, I like talking. If you like this video, please feel free to share it, especially among other Navy veterans or other Ponce veterans. You can reach me through the comment section below. If you want to read more about the day I met the Ponce and just some of the odd hijinks of how very disparate threads of my life kind of collided in the Ponce as if she was a mechanical loom that took all these parts of my life. Oops, I whacked my micro. I'm still getting used to the new microphone. A number of disparate threads of my life collided in a unique way on board that ship and got woven together into a whole new piece of cloth that the tapestry of my story is being embroidered on. It's remarkable because that ship literally divides my life in a very unique way. My life was pre-Ponce and post-Ponce. In fact, that ship had such an impact on me that she beat out my beloved F-14 fighters to become the setting for my very first ever novel, and appropriately entitled Proud Lion. Proud Lion is the first of the accidental detective adventures of Navy Chief Petty Officer Isaac Shepard and NCIS Special Agent Abraham Gray. And Proud Lion takes place in 2016, a year before Isaac retires from active duty, and is actually the second adventure he has on the Ponce. There's references back into an adventure back in 2011. I may get around to writing it one day. I might just leave it a little vague, but the Ponce launched my current literary career. So, to all my shipmates that were on the Ponce with me, we're moving into another part of life, guys and gals. It's not an easy one necessarily, but it's inevitable, and we're not doing it alone because there's thousands of veterans like us who've seen their ships scrapped, and those ships now live only in memory. So we're not alone. We're not suffering anything unique to us, but it is a part of being in the Navy that is something special to us. We are part of a fraternity. Oh, thousands of men and women, Navy and Marine, and even Air Force. We carried some Air Force personnel while I was on board her for some of our missions. That ship touched all these lives over 45 years. She was remarkable. She was a dump truck of a little ship that never quit. So, thank you for your time. Again, please like and share if you think this is worth it. You can read more in my column below. Hit me up through the comments here or the comments on my blog. And until we meet again, to use an old expression, have a great Navy day and always go and do great things.